Elaine, can you give us like an overview of what's happening to education right now? We know that for DepEd alone, there's like 27.2 million learners that we need to. These are our stakeholders amongst the students. We have in the public school sector about 880,000, almost a million public school teachers, not to include the private schools and the private school teachers. Then almost 50,000 public elementary and secondary schools. That doesn't include all those ALS and all the special programs of government. So can you give us an overview, Elaine, USEC Elaine, of what's happening right now in education and how is the education sector coping with well, DepEd in particular and districts coping with the education new normal, so to speak?
Yeah. What we are doing now is we are in the middle of discussion on when to open classes. Now, while we have already decided that it will be opened on August, the definite date is still being discussed. And we are still taking into consideration all other minimum standards that the Department of Health and the IATF have required for the either opening of classes or going to general community quarantine, or if the quarantine status will be lift up, no? So anyway, ang isa yan sa pinag-uusapan natin, yung opening of classes no, sa August. Pangalawa ay how to deliver education, learning and teaching, how to deliver this in a mix in mixed modalities or in other different kinds of platforms kung ano man, dahil hindi naman lahat ay may internet, hindi lahat may cellphone, hindi lahat may device sa bahay, kaya inaayos natin ito kung ano-ano yung mga yugto na dapat natin ayusin para sa ganun ay may deliver natin yung education. While we have determined August to be the opening month of classes, it does not mean that during the August period, we will be meeting the students face-to-face inside the classroom. That we are still determining kung kinakailangan ba talagang magkaroon ng face-to-face, kinakailangan bang study at home, kinakailangan bang homeschooling, kinakailangan bang 1 week lang ang appearance sa eskwelahan, all the rest ay sa bahay na, mag-aaral, anong klaseng platform yung gagamitin, and so on and so forth. These are the things that we are now discussing at the Department of Education, including what we call some non-negotiable requirements before we return to schools. No? Ano yung mga kinakailangan natin ma-establish sa loob ng paaralan bago pumasok ang mga estudyante, ang mga guro, at ang mga personnel o administrators ng mga eskwelahan na yan. So we have that kind of minimum health standards that we need to define and that we need to do from here on until the opening on August. And maybe within August until such time that we will be meeting face-to-face inside the classroom. So these are the things that we are busy discussing and formulating some proposals or programs and projects to be implemented just to make sure that the opening of classes will be addressed properly.
How do we transition, USEC Elaine, for example? We know for a fact that DepEd, when I was still in Congress and until now, has the biggest budget in the country. But the problem is, sabi nga nila, when we like do our strategic planning, when we budget for DepEd and all those executive offices, we didn't budget for COVID-19. So, yeah, what do you think will be the shifts? What paradigm shifts? What shifts in terms of budgets and allocations will happen? Because DepEd will be the key game changer here. And what's on DepEd's mind now? Or from your lenses, what do you think is the best solution? Like, for example, a public-private sector partnership to really make this faster, make the delivery of education accelerate?
First of all, even though DepEd has the biggest budget now in the government, that biggest budget is still not enough to address all concerns of the Department of Education. I'll give you an example. Part of that biggest budget is a budget on school buildings or classrooms. We were asking for more than 170,000 classrooms last year in order to address the classroom shortage. But DBM only gave us just about some kind of some amount good only for about 40,000 classrooms. So how would you compare now that kind of budget that has been given to you on the and then on the basis of what is needed, no? Kahit na malaki yung budget mo, pinakamalaki ka sa pamahalaan, pero hindi pa sapat yan para ayusin yung mga kinakailangan ayusin sa ating kagawaran. Now, of course, we did not budget for COVID, no? And this happened this year, nag-i-start pa lang tayo, ay lumabas na ito. So, quick what they call shifting. For example, before we start classes now, we need to establish all the non-negotiable factors or non-negotiable items that we need inside the classroom or inside the school. For example, potable water, hand washing facilities, disinfection equipment, health and hygiene kits. All these things would eat up much of the budget that we have now. For example, instead of repairing classrooms, we now go on repairing and constructing wash facilities. Why? Because wash facilities are the first kind of intervention that we do when it comes to health and hygiene, no? Washing of hands. No? Kaya kailangan nasa school yan. Oh, how about, for example, even before they enter the school, kailangan mo kaagad ng temperature indicator, and this is about 50,000 schools that we're talking about. So even though a small amount of temperature indicator or a gun temperature gun would already cost so much. Eh ipapasok mo pa yung readiness ng school, PPEs, disinfecting equipment and chemicals, and all other things. Hindi pa tayo pumapasok ngayon dun sa different modes of delivering education. This is just preparing the schools for the safe return to schools of our learners, personnel, and our teachers. So, dyan pa lang, malaki na. And we might not be able to address all these things for the next 3 months if we start today. Kasi nga, hindi naman ganun kabilis ang pag-procure, hindi rin ganun kabilis ang pag-rehabilitate, renovate, or construct. No? We may need to have quarantine facilities in every school, and that would mean we will be establishing clinics in every school. We have clinics now, but they are only about 10-20% of the entire schools have clinics. So we might be establishing new clinics in all other schools. So yan yung mga facilities-wise pa lang. No, second, we need to prepare also our platform on how to deliver teaching and learning in various modalities, whether they are face-to-face with social distancing, non-face-to-face, which means either study at home or homeschooling. So these are and then what kind of materials and what kind of support will you be providing with all these kinds of modalities? That would mean also enhancing our platform that we have now. We have DepEd Commons, enhancing the LR portal that we also have. We have also alternative modes of delivery and education, but we might go further. We might need to establish educational television, educational radio, but this matters when we would want, if we would want to reach out from the cities to the countryside, would not be undertaken within the next 3 or 4 months. No, these are also long-term plans and long-term projects that are not easily implemented and not easily established. So, but we have to start with that. That is now the framework that we have, since this is the new normal, and every now and then this virus there will be outbreaks because of this virus and similar viruses. Then we may need to set up all these things that we can activate at any given time.
Yeah, it's quite providential, Yusek, that I think the guests that we have today are actually some of the delivery modes that are available already. And maybe we would just like to entertain some questions from, well, not some are comments, some are questions from the audience. We have Jaisel Carpena. If online teaching is being prioritized, can we request po mag-provide gadgets ang mga learners na hindi kayang bumili, especially for those in the public school? So another one from Jaime Sevilla Registrado. It is a challenge for every educator, the education in the new normal. But it would be an opportunity too to be more flexible in fast-changing world. We hope that all sectors will give the best share to surpass the challenge. Go DepEd. Huh. We heal as one. Sulong Edukalidad. So most probably these are from also the public sector. So what we'll do now, USEC will open the discussion, for example, together with our public sector partners right now. No? So the question is, from our audience, how can we deliver content and check for understanding with limited resources? What are the challenges of this kind of transition in education? How do we address the issue of resources? We in Bounce Back PH believe that maybe there's a way where we can coordinate resources and really go to the last mile. So how do we do this? How do we establish e-classrooms or virtual classrooms?
We have several objectives or specific objectives when it comes to the DepEd response on COVID-19. No? First, no, we have to protect the well-being of the learners, the teachers, and the non-teaching personnel, and prevent the further transmission of the virus. That's number one. No? Second, even though with COVID-19 there or whatever crisis we have to ensure education continuity through the K-12 materials, various modalities, different kinds of trainings, etc. There should be education continuity. We cannot at any cost, we cannot stop education. No? We have to continue that. No? And then the third specific aim there is we should facilitate the safe return of our teachers, learners, and even non-teaching personnel to work and to schools, no, based on these different scenarios. But then again, who will dictate the minimum standards when it comes to the health and when it comes to the question of the virus? It will always be the Department of Health or the IFTF. They have classified already the different minimum standards that we need to observe, no, and we might be following up that kind of approach. For example, every city, every province, every town, every region may be classified in accordance to the risk that they have. Do they have a low risk situation? Do they have a medium risk? Do they have a high risk? Are they in GCQ or ECQ? Because all these scenarios and all these what they call status would determine what kind of delivery mode will we need to apply. Okay, and then second, there are things that we can change and there are things that we cannot change. For example, in the Philippines, not all areas in the Philippines have cell phone signals. That would already be an indication that in several areas in the Philippines, we cannot deliver education via online or via internet because not all areas have signal of the cell phone. No? And we cannot do anything about this within the next 2 to 3 years because these are telco-based and these are not even, the Department of Education cannot even change this kind of situation that we have. But what are the other technology that have reached until the last mile schools, the so-called last mile schools? Well, we have television, we have radio. But then again, we'll have to, another question is, how do we apply education in TV and in radio? Are we equipped at this moment to a broadcast of teaching and learning in the classroom through the use of TV and through the use of radios? Maybe we can set that up within the next 3 months. But which channel do we use? Oh, we will not be able to only deliver education for the kinder for 1 hour a day, for the grade 1 for 1 hour a day, or for grade 2 for 1 hour a day. Then you will need not only one channel, but about 3 or 4 channels in delivering that. And the same will be true when it comes to the radio station. So all these things can be taken all these technologies can be taken in totality, and to apply all these things in areas where there are different kinds of status when it comes to the risk of having this virus, whether they are low or they are high. No, what we are telling is that there are existing frameworks, there are already proposed frameworks, and there are tractions, or there are proposals that we need to do. We have to combine everything. There is no one size fits all solution to all these things. And we will be needing not only the efforts of the entire government, but of the private sector and the community. We need to collaborate with everybody and to have a delivery of these things, because even the number of devices that we have in every household is even being questioned right now whether they are correct or not. Now, for example, the data that we have in the worldwide scenario is that the Filipinos or the Philippines have 153% penetration of cell phones inside our country. 153%. No. But 153% might be good only in urban communities where a person can have 1, 2, or 3 cell phones, but not in other areas. No? And we need to be guided by all these statistics and all these situations that we have in order to apply the kind of modality or the kind of learning and teaching that we need to employ. Again, there is no correct or mono solution for all of these things. Every situation, every area, and every kind of platform will be used, and we need to see to it that we can deliver all these things. But one thing should be sure here: we cannot stop education. We have to continue. One thing lang that I would like to share to everybody is that we are looking at ways in the department to actually open school year come August. No? Gusto nga namin mas maaga. Ang problema lang, ang magdidikta sa atin dito sa pagbubukas ng klase ay hindi yung kagustuhan ng Department of Education, hindi yung kagustuhan ng marami sa atin. Kung hindi, kung ano ba yung epidemiology ng virus na ito, ano ba yung risk na meron tayo ngayon dahil sa virus na ito. That is the one thing that is dictating us on the date of the opening of classes. Not because we feel we would like to open immediately classes, or that we should start it as soon as possible or delay it a bit, etc. Yung epidemiology talaga ng virus at saka yung risk. That's one thing that nagsasabi sa atin kung kailan natin dapat simulan uli ang pasukan. Anyway, pwede naman tayo magsimula kaagad, pero hindi naman kinakailangan face-to-face. Doon sa mga lugar na mataas ang risk. At doon sa naman lugar na walang risk, pwede naman ituloy katulad ng ginagawa rin natin dati. Anyway, ang isa pa namin tinitignan dito ay kung paano aayusin yung buong school year na matapos ang school year natin next year na hindi papatak sa summer. Dahil ang ating mga eskwelahan ay hindi nakadesign sa summer study. O mainit ang ating mga eskwelahan. No? Sa dinami-dami ng design ng mga DepEd schools, when we start redesigning these schools, we redesign them kasi dapat malakas ito at kayang hindi siya dapat na magalaw ng bagyo, ng earthquake, o ng ano paman. But we forgot na kinakailangan palang i-design din ng ating mga eskwelahan para pwedeng mag-aral ang ating mga bata, ang ating mga teachers kahit summer. But that design is not available to us right now. Kasi nga, hindi ito nakita for the last several years. Kaya we might be instituting several changes again on para hindi tayo umabot sa summer period, para hindi mainit yung pag-aaral ng mga bata at saka mga teachers. No? So maraming po salamat sa inyo.